Hi everyone, welcome to the next part in my PDF document accessibility series. This time we're going to talk about, I guess, sort of one of the first advanced topics. I wouldn't be too scared by it. None of this stuff is going to get that hard, but we're going to get starting a little bit deeper into the PDF remediation. So first things first, let's just hop right into it. I'm going to be showing you how to make a list, but in doing so, I'll also be showing you how to use the tagging panel and a little bit more advanced reading order options. So you can see here I'm starting with a relatively simple document. It looks like we have some kind of header at the top, then 3 subheadings, and each heading has a list of steps on, accomplishing maybe a certain task that you need to do. So in order to tag this properly, I'm just going to start going through some of the things I've already gone over in my previous videos. First, actually, I'm going to delete all the page structure on this page. I just wanted to show you how to do that, just in case you want to start over from scratch on one of your pages, just because maybe the reading order got all messed up, and it's easier just to start from scratch. So I'm actually just going to do that by right-clicking or control-clicking on page 1, and clear page structure. And click yes. And you can see now everything is gone. No more boxes of content, no more ordering here. We can just start straight from scratch. Now, as I showed you earlier, let's just start tagging this document. I'm going to click this options button once again to review and show reading order panel. And move this to the side a little bit. And highlight this first box that I believe should be the H1 of the document, the title of everything. And I do that just by clicking the H1 button after highlighting this box, and that gets labeled as number 1, my first piece of content. Now, what I want to show you is actually what's going on in this final panel down here at the bottom that I haven't really talked about too much, and that's the tags panel. If it's not there by default, once again, you can right-click on this left-hand side ribbon and click Tags. And you can see here something interesting has happened. There has been an H1 tag, heading 1 tag, created. And what's inside of it? It's a box of content that labels, or that has inside of it the text that we just highlighted. So this is really neat. If you actually know a little bit about HTML, this is actually exactly what's going on here. We're going to be trying to imitate how this page would look like on a website if it were rendered using HTML, because HTML already has so much nice structure in it that I talked about much earlier that screen readers can very easily pick up on. So that's actually what we're trying to imitate. So you can see here that we have an H1 tag, and inside of it is this title text. What's next is if I go back to my reading order panel, and I highlight my second header, which I'm going to start from the left going right, because I think that's the most natural reading order, even though theoretically it might not matter. I highlight the second header, CAE responsibilities, and I believe that should be an H2 because it's a subheading. It's one chapter out of this entire document. And you can see that it created my second reading order label over here. And if I actually go back to the tags, you can see that there's not only an H1 now, but there's an H2 tag. Great. So that's a little bit of what's going on in the tagging panel. The tags just show you the labels around the text that is on the page, just like we discussed earlier that we're tagging the content. We're putting labels on all the pieces of content. So what's next? Now we actually have gotten to this list. So the way that we need to organize a list actually is going to be a little bit more difficult, and we can't actually do it from the reading order panel. In fact, if I go to the reading order panel, you'll see that there's no option for me to tag a list because the structure is a bit complicated. So how are we going to do this? We're going to need to use the tags panel. We're going to have to set up empty tags and then put the text in there ourselves. How do we set up these tags? So I actually wrote out this little outline here of what the tagging structure should look like for an entire list. Don't worry if it looks intimidating. We'll go through this one step at a time. So the first thing it's telling us is we need to create a main list tag. Okay, so the way we're going to do this is I'm going to go up to this top left button, similar to where the reading order panel would be for the reading order window. I'm going to click New Tag. Now I'm going to be able to create a bunch of different kinds of tags based on what I'm going to be labeling. You can see that there's stuff that lists a bunch of different tags that would be available to us in HTML as well. But I'm just going to click list for now. And I'm going to click OK. And that creates an L, short for list, tag for us. And this is going to be the thing that encompasses our entire list over this entire first column list. So now that we've created our first tag, we need to create many different list items. And these list items, each one is going to correspond with, let's say, step 1, step 2, and step 3. So that's why I labeled 3 different ones here, because we have 3 different steps on our document. So how do we do that? I'm going to click Options again and New Tag. And instead of a list, I need to do a list item now. And that created an LI, short for list item tag, for me here. I said we needed 3 of them, so I'm just going to create all 3 of them really quickly right now. It remembers my previous choice, so that's why it's easy to create 3 new ones right in a row. Now that we have our 3 list item tags, you can see they're still empty for now. There's nothing inside them, unlike these H2 where I can expand them and see the text inside of them. But we'll fill them with text soon. We'll fill them with tags and text soon enough. So another important concept about the list, this tagging panel, is that you can actually put tags inside other tags. Now, the way you do this is very similar to moving around items in the reading order panel. I can just click on a certain tag and drag it into another tag to contain it. So you can see here, when I move my mouse a little bit up after dragging on this first LI, the arrow that is on this line the line is pretty long still, but if I move it just a little bit up more so that my mouse is sort of over the L, like I'm dragging it into the L, the line shortens, and all of a sudden, boom, the LI is now inside the big L tag. And you can see I can close and open it, and that expands and shrinks what the children of this tag. I'll do this for each of the LIs I created. So now you can see all 3 LIs are contained within this big L. Great. So now we're not quite done with the structure yet, though. We need a little bit more. And so now we need a label and list item body. I'll go over what all of these mean at the very end. I just want to show you how to show it up, how to create everything. So what I do now is I can go into New Tag and find the label tag. So alphabetical should be just right here, and label. And even though I have to create list item bodies later, I'm going to create 3 of these right now, just because it's so easy to create 3 of the same tag in a row. And each LI gets its own label. So one label goes in here, one label goes in here, and one label goes in here. So now you can actually see what's going on here. Sometimes people will use the words parent-child relationship to describe what's going on with this tagging structure. You can see that you can imagine these 3 list items as being the 3 children of the big grandparent of the list tag. So that's why I said children here, and children here. But then each of these children have their own children, also known as grandchildren of the original grandparent. And that's why I called them grandchildren, because they're children of the children of the grandparent. Yep. And so now we just need 3 sort of in the similar places list item bodies. In fact, if we're going with the same family tree analogy, you could even call these siblings of the labels, because they're both children of this list item. They're on the same level, if you will. So I'm just going to create another tag, and that's going to be a list. That's going to be a list item body. And I'll just create 3 really quick. 1, 2, 3. So one thing to be careful about is sometimes it'll put the tag somewhere random and close the tag that you're working in, so just be careful of that. So I was working in this L tag, and you can actually see here's another one that got created, And here's the third one that got created. So sometimes your tags go sort of flying all over the place. You just have to find where they are. That's one disadvantage, I suppose, to creating 3 tags in a row, is it might put them in different places. But once you find them, I can just put them in the right places. So this guy already has his L body. This L body belongs inside this Li. I'll put it, whoops, so you can actually see I made a mistake here. I put this inside the label, which is not what's supposed to be happening. These two are supposed to be siblings, not parent-child relationship. They should have a sibling relationship. They should be on the same level and not sort of indented like this. So I can just move it back into this Li, and you can see that they are now siblings. They're on the same indentation level. If you're bothered about the order, I can just bring this LBL above the L body. But the order might matter later, but we can fix it also later. And then I can bring this L body also within this Li. And now everything looks exactly like we have it structured here. Great. So now you can say, oh, of course we set up all this tagging, but there's nothing inside here. So, that's kind of pointless, but we just need to fill in the point, so to speak. How do we do that? So what I'm going to need to do in order to put this text inside these tags is first highlight the piece of text I want to talk about. The way I do this is, in case you're on this sort of drag and click view, you need to switch to this cursor over here so that you can actually highlight text for real. So I'm going to start by highlighting this 1, and then I'm going to click on label. Oh, I suppose I have to highlight 1 here as well. So keep this highlighted, and then all I need to do is click on options, and then create tag from selection. So what that's done is that it's taken this 1 that I highlighted and put it inside my selected tag. In fact, if I messed up and I accidentally, let's say, I accidentally created that tag and so I highlighted it, but I was selected on the wrong thing. So the 1 you can see went inside the L, but it needs to be inside the proper label. Now, I suppose I also got rid of the label tag, so let me create another label tag. One shortcut you can actually see me do is I'm going to type LBL into here, and that's just going to create another LBL tag. So you can see that L is short for list, LI is short for list item. Very much faster sometimes to type the LI or L body instead of trying to look for list item body. But you can actually see that I can drag these boxes of content, boxes of text, in a very similar manner to dragging the tags around. So I can actually just put this 1 inside of his proper label. And the reason I suppose I can say this now is we're calling this labels is you can think of this list as being a collection of labels and then the content of the body of the list item. So this number 1 labels that this is step 1 in this bigger list, step 2 in this bigger list. So that's why they're called labels, because in general you could call them step numbers, but in general they're not steps, and they also don't have to even be numbers. I can have a list of I could write, I could write, like item A first, item B second, and item C third. So these aren't even numbers. These can be letters, or they can even be Roman numerals, like I, and then II, and then triple I. People like using those whenever they have nested lists. But either way, that's just why it's in general called the label of your step, of your element of your list. But of course, if that was the label, then the body is just going to be the rest of the text in step 1. The actual item that's in step 1. So once I've highlighted all that text and I've selected my L body, I can click on the options panel again and click create tag from selection once again, and boom, that brings all the text inside this L body. And now you can see that this list item, if I highlight it, it highlights everything inside its children. So it highlights everything you can think of, again, going back to our family tree analogy, that is a descendant of my the tag that I'm highlighting. So, you can see that this number 1 is a descendant. This text is also a descendant of my LI. So when I highlight it, everything here is highlighted. So you can see I've highlighted all of step 1. Great. So now I just need to repeat the process on both the next 2 steps. So once again, highlight step 2 once I have label selected, create tag from selection, and then select LBody, and select the body, the text of my list item, and create tag from selection, boom. Same exact process. And all I have to do is do it on step 3. So I go to label, and then I have to select the 3 and the period. I have to be careful, otherwise I'll miss some text. 3, and then highlight the body, boom. And so all 3 of my list items have been set up. So you can see when I highlight over this first list item, I go to step 1. I highlight the second list item, I go to step 2. And I highlight this third item, and then it brings me to step 3. And if I close the entire list and zoom out, I have covered all the text in this single column, which is all I need to do. So that's how you tag a list. And if you actually go back to the reading order panel, ooh, look at that. Even when I created the tags, it was also in the background setting up the reading order for me. So that's actually really nice. I don't have to like re-tag everything for the reading order. So that's what I mean by advanced reading order, that this is another way you can manipulate the reading order of your document. But of course, while we were tagging things, it looks like it got something about the reading order wrong. This is another great example of why you would want to change the reading order after Adobe tries to do its best to guess what the correct reading order should be. So you can see that this CAE responsibilities, which I originally wanted to be the second heading read directly after the entire title of the document, got pushed all the way down to the very last thing being read, which honestly doesn't make too much sense. I don't want to know the title of the document, then be read a random list, and then at the very end to be told, oh, that list, by the way, was CAE responsibilities, or CAE responsibilities. So instead, I want this to be read before I jump into my list. So that all that means is I need to put this right after the title is being read. So that just means I drag this all the way up. Boom. That's all I needed to do. Right after the title gets read, then I jump to CAE responsibilities, and then I go down the list. Step 1, all the instructions in step 1. Step 2, all the instructions in step 2, and so on. I'm not going to cover this entire document because the rest is the exact same process, and I think you get the idea after just these couple, and the video is getting a bit long. But yeah, I hope that through this you were able to learn how to tag a list and a little bit more about how the reading order panel and how that interacts with the tags panel in Adobe Acrobat. So thank you for watching. See you in the next one.